Islamic State recruits want to open a path into the U.S. from Mexico. Calls grow louder to force doctors to kill. And about a quarter of young adults in Britain say they'd be okay dating a robot. This is SkyWatchTV for Wednesday, April 27th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, Russia is building up forces north of the city of Aleppo in Syria. Surprise, those Russian troops never actually left. They're preparing for an all-out assault on the city of Aleppo in conjunction with Syrian troops, Hezbollah forces, and Iranian Republican Guard troops. Russian command in Syria reportedly determined to push the rebels out of Aleppo and hand the city over to Syria's President Bashar al-Assad. However, as this proxy war goes on, 3,500 rebels backed by Saudi Arabia and Turkey were sent to Aleppo last week to shore up rebel defenses before this confrontational battle. Now, the White House on Monday announced that another 250 U.S. soldiers would be dispatched to Syria. This after declaring in an interview Saturday with BBC that there would be no American boots on the ground in Syria. This led to a wonderful exchange during a State Department briefing Monday between Associated Press reporter Matt Lee and State Department spokesman John Kirby.
Today, he has announced 250 more troops going to Syria after saying for months and months and months that there would be no boots on the ground. I'm just curious if this is like part of some kind of devious grand strategy to say one thing and then do the complete opposite of it.
There was never this, there was never this no boots on the ground. I don't know where this keeps coming from.
But yes.
There was no, there wasn't. There was, we're not going to be involved in a large-scale combat mission on the ground. That is what the president has long said. We have wait a minute, wait. We have 3,000 some odd troops in Iraq already in an advise and assist capacity at bases throughout the country. Don't tell me and don't tell them or their families that they're not on the ground.
The mantra from the president and everyone else in the administration has been no boots on the ground. And
No,
now
that is not true.
What?
It's just not true, man.
It is.
It's just not true.
It's true.
No, it's not.
Well,
I just flatly, absolutely disagree with you. But
Now, it's encouraging to see that other reporters at the briefing also picked up on the obvious falsehood of Mr. Kirby's statement. Matt Lee has been a thorn in the side of State Department spokespeople for a long time. But like I said, the rest of the press corps wasn't buying it either. Even the Washington Post, which is generally pro-Obama and pro-intervention, pointed out that the administration is lying. Now, where would all of these members of the press get the impression that President Obama had promised no boots on the ground? RT put together this compilation, and maybe this is why.
I will not put American boots on the ground in Syria. We should not be drawn once more into a long and costly ground war. It will not involve American combat troops fighting on foreign soil. The resolution we've submitted today does not call for the deployment of U.S. ground combat forces to Iraq or Syria.
Well, next week, we understand John Kirby is going to announce that Oceania has always been at war with East Asia. Meanwhile, government officials working with the United Nations to increase the number of Syrian refugees in the U.S. from 10,000 to 200,000. Talks are taking place in Geneva, Switzerland. This was revealed by a report by the Center for Immigration Studies Monday, in which they quoted a professor from Georgetown University, a Jesuit university, if that makes any difference to you, and a UN advisor, professor and UN advisor named Beth Ferris. Ferris said at a recent conference that government officials expect this crisis in Syria to last 10 to 15 years. And she spelled out a backdoor plan to settle thousands more Syrians in the United States than the president promised to bring in. And meanwhile, in Minnesota, one of a group of men accused of trying to join up with the Islamic State told investigators he wanted to open up routes from Syria to the U.S. through Mexico. Prosecutors allege that Guled Ali Omar told ISIS members about the routes so it could be used to launch terror attacks inside America. Omar's trial begins May 9th. He and two other men from Minnesota pleaded not guilty to multiple charges, including conspiracy to commit murder outside the U.S. Now, we saw this coming. Bear with me as we kind of untangle this. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said that the league will pull next year's NBA All-Star game from Charlotte if the state of North Carolina doesn't allow men in women's rooms, basically. He's talking about HB 2, House Bill 2, the Public Facilities Privacy and Security Act. Silver said, and I quote, "We believe a change in the law is necessary for us to play in the kind of environment that we think is appropriate for a celebratory NBA event," end quote. I don't know whether he explained what having transgenders use public restrooms has to do with an NBA game, but this is just the latest and most egregious example of economic blackmail being threatened against the state of North Carolina. And of course, the media is taking a lead in casting this as discriminatory. Well, yeah, of course it's discriminatory. We discriminate all the time. We don't let 12-year-olds drive. We don't let 4-year-olds obtain concealed carry permits. And we don't let high school boys in the girls' shower room after PE class. And this is so hypocritical, it can make your head explode. I will try to keep calm here because, as I've said before, and this is for my own benefit as much as anyone else's, if we approach this topic with hatred in our eyes, the enemy has already won. And in our hearts, for that matter, the enemy has already won, regardless of whether we are correct or not. Liberals have been pushing the idea for years that any expression of masculinity, male behavior, even holding doors open for women, is an example of the rape culture that permeates our patriarchal society. However, if I agree that our women are indeed vulnerable to rape in this culture, and it is for precisely that reason that I don't want my wife, my mother, or my daughter sharing a public restroom or locker room with a man who claims to be a woman, then somehow I am a transphobic cis male bigot. How is it possible to hold two mutually contradictory ideas in one's head without it exploding? Well, the story in North Carolina has taken on a life of its own, and it's enough to convince me that our culture has lost its collective mind and soul. Now, even if we set aside the moral aspect of this, let's look at another component of this debate over HB 2 in North Carolina. Another point that progressives conveniently forget in their desire to obliterate God's definition of male and female is that their desire to force owners of private property to allow transgenders in their restrooms completely tramples the rights of private property owners. Look, there is nothing in HB 2 that prevents PayPal, Deutsche Bank, or the Charlotte Hornets from allowing transgenders to use their restrooms. The bill does not prohibit this. It simply says private property owners have the right to choose who can use their restrooms as they seek to serve their customers and provide for them an atmosphere that is comfortable and safe. So in other words, by passing HB 2, the legislature in North Carolina has, in fact, codified a basic principle of liberty. Call it the separation of bathroom and state. In government-owned facilities, people must use the restroom that corresponds to their biological sex. Privately owned businesses are free to do what they like to please their customers. But LGBT hypocrites aren't satisfied having it their way. They want the owners of these businesses, privately owned shops, restaurants, exercise facilities, bars, whatever, to be compelled by the state to accept their definition of gender, which is basically whatever I feel like today. They are, in fact, the ones who are pushing a fascist agenda. And there is no question about this, one in which government and business are joined at the hip. It is not, as the media seems to believe, a conservative movement, fascism that is. Fascism is a progressive phenomenon. It is not a coincidence that Adolf Hitler's political party was the National Socialists. And please remember, at the end of the day, this whole debate is not about who gets to use which restroom, or whether Christian photographers need to take wedding photos at same-sex weddings. It's about legal protection for those who object on religious grounds to being compelled to perform services that they believe violates their standard of morality, or a biblical standard of morality, if you prefer. Wesley J. Smith, at his excellent Human Exceptionalism blog, you find it at National Review Online, points out in his recent post that suicide, the rate of suicide in the United States is increasing. It is up 23%, 24% between 1999 and 2014. Across all age groups and demographics in the United States, suicide has now become one of the 10 leading causes of death among all age groups. And he argues that it is not a coincidence that this change in the rate of suicide corresponds to a surge, a growth in the assisted suicide movement here in the United States. And he's pointed out, as he has pointed out, bioethicists are now openly making the case that doctors and nurses should not be permitted to opt out of assisting in suicide or performing abortion. In other words, a doctor or nurse, physician's assistant, who objects to being asked to take a human life, according to bioethicists, some bioethicists should not have the right to opt out. There's a new op-ed piece published at the Journal of Medical Ethics, prestigious journal, arguing that, and I quote, "Forcing patients to live by the conscientious objector's values constitutes an unacceptable infringement of the rights of patients," end quote. In other words, the right of a patient to die or to kill an unborn child trumps the right of medical professionals to refuse to kill. And according to the authors of this piece, doctors who don't want to help their patients kill themselves or kill unborn children should just find another line of work. Now, this is not a fringe publication in which this essay was published, and the authors are both professors at the university level. They contend that conscientious objection is based on indemonstrable premises and thus arbitrary, fickle, and undefensible. Interesting phrase, indemonstrable premises. Now, of course, that's not true. As Christians, we understand that basing your moral code on the Word of God is based on the demonstrable premise that Jesus lived, died, and was resurrected, based on the eyewitness testimony of those who saw the resurrected Christ, and the textual evidence that the New Testament accounts, Old Testament accounts have been accurately preserved down the centuries. But of course, if you begin with the premise that there is no supernatural realm, that argument carries no weight with you. And it's no surprise to find out that one of the co-authors of this essay at the Journal of Medical Ethics is himself an atheist, formerly edited a journal or an anthology of atheist essays. So, if you begin with that premise, that there is no ultimate objective arbiter, judge of right and wrong, then you cannot see, because you are blind, to any ethical objection that can be raised to compelling another person to take a human life. And since human life has no intrinsic value, it's no surprise to learn that the generation coming up is apparently okay with the idea of becoming emotionally attached to robots. A new survey of 18 to 34-year-old adults in Britain shows that a quarter of them would be happy to date a robot. The only catch is that they would have to look like a human, be very lifelike, and be a perfect match emotionally, personality-wise. In other words, they want a human without all of the difficulty of having to get along with another human, which is just a perfect snapshot of the basic default setting of the human heart, selfish above all things. The founder of a British design group called Body Data Space says that our bodies, our identities, and our senses are enhancing thanks to technology and societal shifts. No, it's another lie that many in our society have bought from the father of all lies, that somehow we are on our way to becoming as gods, which is why SkyWatchTV and Defender Films collaborated on what we can now officially call the award-winning documentary, Inhuman, The Next and Final Phase of Man is Here. It was a recipient of the Silver Telly in the 37th Annual Telly Awards. I kind of scooped Tom Horn by announcing it yesterday during the update. Couldn't help myself. Tom deserves kudos for it, as do, I mentioned, director Gon Shimura, but also director-producer Joe Artis, who did much of the camera work in what you see in the film Inhuman. Out of 13,000, more than 13,000 entries in the 37th Annual Telly Awards, we are told that fewer than 10% received the Silver Telly, which is their highest award for excellence. And so Tom and the team who put it together, rightly proud of this film. If you've not seen Inhuman, the documentary, you really owe it to yourself to get educated on what has become a 21st century religion. It's being presented to us as the next phase of science, but what it is, in fact, is just the same lie the Nakash, the serpent in the garden, gave to Adam and Eve, wrapped up in a scientific veneer. Ye shall be as gods. Now, yesterday on the update, I said that the program on SkyWatch TV this week dealt with Whispering Ponies Ranch. And in keeping with the spirit of John Kirby, the State Department spokesman, I am going to try to explain why I said that without admitting that I was wrong. I believe that Josh and Christina Peck actually left the entrance to the multiverse open here in the studio after their filming yesterday, and I inadvertently stepped into an alternate reality, Dimension 14B, I think. And in that reality, we were off by a week. In this reality, however, the one in which you are watching, this week's program on SkyWatch TV, in fact, deals with the launch of SkyWatch TV magazine. Whispering Ponies was last week. We'll talk more about that. You'll see that on SkyWatch TV this afternoon, coast to coast on the Cornerstone Network. And again, this coming Saturday on the Victory Television Network down in Arkansas, and coast to coast on the Christian Television Network. And we've got a complete list of dates, times, and stations to view SkyWatch TV posted at skywatchtv.com. Look in the top menu bar there for the link that says channel listing. The Rocky Mountain International Prophecy Conference coming to your home, or we can if you subscribe to the live stream. 3 different options there. All 32 speakers featured at least once, and all of the presentations that will be live streamed will be archived online for you to view for 6 weeks after the conference. For more information and to sign up, log on to prophecywatchers.com. And your support makes it possible for us to do this at SkyWatch TV. In April, for your gift of $20 or more, we'll send you this Amazing Grace glass block paperweight and the audiobook edition of The Ahriman Gate by Tom and Nita Horn. Again, that's our thank you for your gift of $20 or more during April. To give, log on to skywatchtv.com/donate. And of course, you can help us out with a click of your mouse. If you click like, subscribe, and share wherever you see it, click subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll find us online there. And of course, my web presence, Facebook, Twitter, and my website here. My email address is always open for your comments and questions as well, and that is dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV. Save nearly half off the cover price when you subscribe now to the brand new SkyWatch TV magazine. For a limited time from April 24th through June 24th, 60 days only, a 5-year subscription to SkyWatch TV magazine is just $99. That's more than $75 off the cover price, which is like getting 2 years for free. Exclusive content, articles on prophecy, discovery, and the supernatural from Tom Horn, Chris Putnam, Josh Peck, science updates from Sharon K. Gilbert, geopolitics from yours truly, and guest writers like Pulitzer Prize-nominated journalist Troy Anderson, renowned Bible scholar Dr. Michael Heiser, Pentagon advisor Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, and more. But there is more. As an early subscriber, you'll be the first to get this new book from Defender Publishing. I predict what 12 global experts believe you'll see by 2025. This is a $20 value and includes best-selling authors like Joel Richardson, Mark Biltz, Carl Gallups, Tom Horn, Paul McGuire, and more. Find out what they think about the coming war between ISIS and the Vatican, the future of the Temple Mount and the Ark of the Covenant, a worldwide manifestation of angels, and the coming age of human hybrids. And we'll also add this DVD, The Best of SkyWatch TV 2015, a $25 value, including our most compelling interviews from last year, including Chuck Missler, Steve Quayle, the discussion of the Georgia Guidestones with Chris Pinto, and more. All of this together worth more than $200, yours now for just $99, but only through June 24th. Subscribe now, SkyWatch TV magazine. Just call the number on your screen or log on to skywatchtvstore.com.